Russia is now confirming that its warplanes carried out bombing raids in the Syrian province of Idlib just hours after Donald Trump warned Syria and its allies against reckless attacks in the region. Russia's state news agency says the airstrikes targeted the terror group Nabad al-Nusra. Syria's military has been sending reinforcements to Idlib for weeks, preparing for a final assault on the last major rebel stronghold. Well, the UN warns that it could result in a bloodbath. Well, let's bring in our chief international correspondent, Clarissa Ward, who has reported extensively in Syria. Good to have you always with us. Clarissa, even before this full-blown offensive, we're seeing airstrikes and, of course, the rebels responding.
That's right, Lynda. It had been a relatively quiet few weeks in Idlib because of these de-escalation deals that have been struck. But as of yesterday, we saw 30 airstrikes in the space of 24 hours, most of them centering on an area about 25 miles west of the city of Idlib. This is home to two strategic highways that connect major cities within Syria. These are obviously, for strategic reasons, quite important for the regime. The regime and its allies in the form of Iran and Russia have been signaling now for quite some time that they plan to take Idlib. This is, of course, the last stand, really, for the rebellion that rose up against Bashar al-Assad back in 2011. This is the last province that they are in control of. So clearly, this is an important target for the regime. But I think that some people have been a little surprised to see the offensive begin ahead of some very important diplomatic meetings that are taking place on Friday in Tehran between Turkey and Iran and Russia. Also, the UN Security Council is convening a session on Idlib on Friday. And then next week, the UN in Geneva will be brokering a series of talks. Again, Turkey, Iran, Russia, also the US and its allies. But clearly, Lynda, the only powers that really have any leverage in this game, or in this conflict, one shouldn't call it a game, are Turkey and Iran and Russia. And we have seen Turkish forces sending some 8 trucks into Idlib province with howitzers, with tanks. They have about a dozen observation posts there. So many signs that on all sides the situation is ratcheting up, Lynda.
It certainly sounds that way. The UN, of course, has warned that under a worst-case scenario, this could be a humanitarian emergency that we haven't seen on a scale before in Syria. Why does this have the potential to be the worst so far?
Well, simply put, everyone who supports the uprising, who has been squeezed out of other territories that the regime has taken back, has been pushed into Idlib. And so what that means is that there are approximately 3 million civilians living in Idlib now. An estimated 1 million of them are children. Unlike Aleppo, where they were essentially surrounded, if they are pushed up towards the north of the province, eventually they hit the Turkish border. So where do they go, these refugees? Turkey has said many times before that it simply cannot take any more Syrian refugees. And this really opens Pandora's box, if you will, for the potential of more serious attacks on civilians, the likes of which we know the regime is capable of. They've hit courthouses, they've hit schools, they've targeted hospitals. And now, of course, the concern that's been aired certainly by a variety of U.S. People in the U.S. administration is that the Syrian regime and its allies might seek again to use chemical weapons. Lynda?
All right, Clarissa Ward, as always, great to get your analysis on all of that. Thanks so much.